I'm here again. All right. Welcome. Thanks for watching. Thanks for clicking because you knew that I was here and you wanted to be my friend. Thank you. All right. Anyway, I have a little. I hadn't planned on showing anything this soon after the last video, but Dolphin Dale the other day showed this album, and I had just gotten it in too. We both, I guess, supported the Kickstarter program to have this reissued. He got his and showed it the day of or the day after, and so I figured, well, I'll go ahead and show mine. But I was going to step it up one step further, and so I pulled out everything by this band, and I was going to do a focus on this band, because I'm sure probably a lot of you are probably not familiar with this band. The band is what would be considered a Christian rock band, but don't let that turn you off if you're not into the Christian thing. The band has always been kind of a crossover band in the sense that lyrically they're not real preachy. It's more about real life and you know, family issues and love issues, and just not real preachy lyrically. As a matter of fact, they originally started off on Island Records, which I believe is also this U2 was on that originally. So back in the day, they started in '82. Back in the day, they were on a non-Christian label. Anyway, the band, speaking of, is a band called the 77's. This is their first album. It's called Ping Pong Over the Abyss. Came out in '82, like I said. The band has been around for quite a while, and it's been a while since they've had an album, but the singer is still very active. Anyway, so initially, it took me, this is their first three albums. They got Ping Pong Over the Abyss, All Fall Down, which was '84, and then just the 77's, which was '87. These tend to be released or reissued in box sets of 1, 2, 3. It's got pictures and things along that line, stories. I didn't discover the band until '87. Now, mind you, at this time I was still pretty much a heavy metal head. So this band is more of an alternative. They started off kind of in the pop, maybe with a little bit of a punk flair on a song here or there, kind of poppy, kind of alternative, rocky for what would be alternative in '82. So when I discovered them here, I really liked this album. So then I went back and I checked this one out a little more and fell in love with this. This one's a little different than all the other styles, a little more, raw. They were young, and eventually this became just one of my favorite albums. So started here, went backwards. So these are three great albums, and I believe they're still available to get. So then they stepped up in '89 with this album called More Miserable Than You'll Ever Be. Now look at this. This is technically not a 77's album. It's 7 and 7 is. 7 and 7 is. It's kind of like a they do it again later where they record under this same singer and everything, but it's songs that were not necessarily 77 songs, or songs with other people that he's jammed with or whatever. Still, to me, it's a 77's album. This album, once I got this, it's kind of like I say, a little bit of oddities. It's really only got like 4 or 5 finished studio songs, and then some demos and vocal rehearsals and live songs. But when I say demos and stuff, what they've done, they're pretty much almost complete songs. So aside from 1 or 2 live songs, to me this feels like a full studio album. There's not any real roughness or anything. So I fell in love with this. It's different than the previous 3. It does feel like a little different band, but in a good way. A little more just it's hard to describe, but this album still to this day gets heavy rotation for me. Whenever I think of the 77's, this album and 1 or 2 more that I'll cover, I will discuss. Now, back in 2014, Kickstarter program to reissue this as a remastered deluxe edition, and that's what this is. So they reissued it, remastered it, and released it as a double disc. Second disc has some more vocal rehearsals, a couple other songs that were not released at the time, which are pretty much full. So it's almost like getting a whole second CD of stuff, which was really great, because this period of music was one of my favorites. Not only that, they ended up having more than enough money to do this, so they had a stretch goal, and they released Misery Loves Company, which is another 15 songs, including a bunch of live songs and some other songs that were recorded at this time. Again, similar to that vein, but a little different than what 77's normally were. Now, at the time they released these, they didn't have a vinyl edition, but then last year they started it. I funded it. It's done. The vinyl is supposedly going to be shipped within the next couple weeks. So there is a vinyl edition of this coming out, which I will be receiving, and I'm looking forward to it because, again, one of my favorite albums. Followed up by 89's Sticks and Stones, and that was 89. Anyway, I'm not going to get all the years right on these because they've all been reissued in this, so the dates are not there. Sticks and Stones. Now, from my understanding, back when this came out, it wasn't really a full 77's album as much as it was a bunch of songs that were kind of demos and stuff that they were working on that was kind of put out. I don't know, that's the story I seem to recall. But again, there's nothing demo about this. There are some songs on here that are demos from other albums, but this, aside from the last one, this became my favorite. This is the one that I, to this day, I listened to the last one too, but this is the one I listen to probably the most. These are the songs that are ingrained in me, that I air drum to and air guitar to all the time. Now in 2012, again, they did the same thing. Remastered, deluxe edition with 2 discs. The second disc has some lives and some additional live and demo tracks. It's a digipack there, and great stuff. Now this one at the time did come out on vinyl, and it's double vinyl with the gatefold. And they had multiple tiers of the colored vinyl, and you know, the fancier vinyls were a little more expensive. I stuck with a yellow on one and green on the other. So I stuck with that package. Again, great album, one of my favorites. Glad to have that on vinyl. I did pick it up a little later than the actual program because I hadn't gotten back into vinyl until after the CDs, so I was just happy that I was able to acquire them at a later date. Now, even more, aside from with this album, with the Sticks and Stones, again, they met their goal and beyond. These guys are pretty popular in the Christian market, so when they have a Kickstarter, they go way over what they require. So they put out a bonus disc, stems and seeds and stems, a bunch of live and demo tracks. Again, just more stuff that they were able to pull from that era and time. What? They still had more extra money? Okay, fine. They're going to release a compilation of 2 CDs of material from Cornerstone, one of the big Christian music festivals that happened every year up until a couple years ago when they stopped doing it. And this has songs from all of their appearances from '84 all the way through 2006. They appeared quite a few times. So there's 2 discs here of live material from Cornerstone. What? Still more money? Let's throw out another Cornerstone Forever. Of course, these were released after Cornerstone has stopped, so they're kind of like, that's why they're called Long Live Cornerstone, Cornerstone is Dead, and Cornerstone Forever. This one has 3 tracks from 2008, one of their last appearances. So again, these are just bonus goodies that you end up, you know, paying for the 1 CD on Kickstarter. You end up getting all these extras. Now they released an album, a live album called 88. So it's 77's and 88. That was later reissued as a double disc, with the second disc being called When Numbers Get Serious. And what it is it's a second live CD of a bunch of songs from a bunch of different live events, 16 extra songs. So, you know, there's 2. You get 88 was a really popular live album for them. So when they put this out, you're getting a whole second live album. So that was really great. Now, the next up album was, it's technically just called the 77's, but that's only because when it was released in the Christian market, the title that they originally called it, Pray Naked, didn't go over so well. But as you can see, it's got the little naked men with the sign. So this is commonly known as Pray Naked, and it does say that on this. This is a reissue. Again, this was just last year. They reissued it, deluxe edition, 2 discs. Second disc has, the first one is the album called Pray Naked. The second one's called Naked Pray, P-R-E-Y. and it's a bunch of live and vocal warm-ups and stuff like that. Again, kind of demo-y, but the demos are worth listening to because they're pretty good stuff here. Now this one also on vinyl. Again, gatefold, double vinyl. I went up a little heavier on and got the splatter version, which I think was a little more expensive than just a basic colored one. Glad to have that. Again, extra money from the Kickstarter, so they released this CD called Naked and Unashamed, and it's other various demos, air checks, radio air interview type things, TV mixes of songs. Anyway, so it's just more fun stuff from the band. Still extra money, so hey, let's throw together a DVD of a bunch of songs from concerts at that time. So they put out this DVD of that session too. So more goodies. Now, shortly after that, I think this is 94, Drowning with Land in Sight. Now this was a album they kind of got, you read the story with the reissue. This is the one that just came out as a reissue that Dolphin Dale had shown. And I read the stories in the book about it, and I guess the record label made them add Nobody's Fault But Mine, which most people know is a Led Zeppelin track, but it's an actual cover of an old blues song. So they added that. They had to remove a song that the record label, the Christian market, they thought was a little too risque sounding. There was one word in one song that they backward masked to censor it. They made it blurry to censor it because the Christian market didn't want to have that in there. So this one has been reissued. Again, it's a deluxe edition, 2 discs. Second disc is a bunch of live stuff and demos. The extra song that was removed, they added it back. The song that was weird, flipped around and blurred out a little, and that one word was fixed and restored. So this is more of the album the way it should have been, and it's got the extra bonus tracks. Now, of course, it came out on vinyl too. Double vinyl, gatefold, like always, like the other ones. In this case, both of the albums are green. One's light green and one's a little darker green. This was probably the cheaper vinyl, I'm pretty sure, because the other ones, can't always afford that when you get all the CDs and everything. It's kind of hard to do. Followed up by Tom Tom Blues. This is a really good album. I really love this album too. This one is where they become, and the last one, are a little more alternative feeling. It was the mid-90s, so a little style change versus the other. But in all cases, to me, a lot of their stuff has reminded me of U2. They're kind of laid back at times, a little upbeat at times. This album may go a little more with the 90s flair, so it does have a little more alternative. But some of my favorite songs on here, and some of their hits that they still play, are on this album. So, great album. And then they released a Echoes of Faith, which is an acoustic live concert of the past couple albums of stuff. Now, this is a remastered reissue also, 2012. So it's got a second disc, and the second disc is called Played Naked. Get it? Pray Naked, Played Naked. So you got Echoes of Faith and Played Naked. It's just additional acoustic versions of their songs live. So this is great stuff here. Followed up by another live album called 99. So we got the 77's band, and they have a live album called 88. And they have a live album called 99. People love them live, so this is just more great live material. This was released in like 2007, but it's a 99 album. Now, the band kind of, a couple years we didn't hear much from them, and then in 1999 they come up with this simply titled EP. It's 5 songs that, again, to me this one was a slight style change. A little of the edge was gone, and it was a little more mellow, melancholy, laid back. It still sounds like the 77's, but just, every album seems to be a little bit of a style change. They kind of grow and change and mature. This one was a little bit of a change. Took me a little bit of time to get used to this. I love it now, but it wasn't something that immediately grabbed me initially. Then they released, shortly after, this is more of a single, an EP, But what it is, it's the songs Related and Mr. Magoo from the forthcoming album, A Golden Field of Radioactive Crows. Now, it's got Related, a radio mix. It's got Mr. Magoo, the regular album mix. And then it's got some other remixes of songs. It's got some dialogue on there, and it's got some songs that were kind of, oddities. This was released before the actual album came out, so this was good stuff. Then they took and they released this album called Late. Now, what this is, from my understanding, is a compilation of a bunch of stuff. This was introduced to the Christian market to reintroduce the 77's in like 2000 to get the Christian market, or the Christian bookstores and stuff like that, more into their stuff. Now, this album contains all 5 of the songs from the EP, the remixes from this, and some other oddities and stuff. So it's mainly live and interesting stuff. It's not so much a studio album, like I say, as it is just a reissue of this, a couple new songs from here, and some remixes. So I still had to have it though, because I collect everything. Then a year later, they came out with a Golden Field of Radioactive Crows. What a mouthful. So this is the actual full album. Great stuff. This initially took me a little time to get used to, only because, again, they change a little, but it has since become just one of my favorites. I say that about every one, so just think of that. It's going to be that way all the time. Their albums always become some of my favorites, because that's why they're one of my favorite bands. So we have this great stuff. When I say this was 2001. Then you jump forward to 2002, and they released another EP called Direct. This one has 6 songs, and again, similar to the last one, it's about the same style as the EP before. It's just a little more laid back in places, but again, great songs, but just a little, in some ways, what I think is a little mellower than a lot of the times they do, the lot of stuff they do. Now, over the years, I was a member of their fan club for a short while, and they released some things only to them, to the fan club. Guilty Pleasures. It's got some live stuff. It's kind of like the demo tracks you hear on the albums, but back in the day, this is what they did to the fan clubs. And this was back in 2003. And it's got, a handful of songs, just some really cool stuff for the fans. And then they did a small Christmas album called Happy Crimbo. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Kind of bluesy, their style of bluesy, Christmassy type stuff. So again, had to have this as ultimate fan. And then, like I said, they did come back up. And again, here we go with that name. This is 7 and 7 Is. Now, what this is it's kind of more of an acoustic-y album, but it's only, I believe it's only 2 of the guys from the band. So it's a different style. It's a little more mellow. It's not the 77's, but same singer, and just a little more stripped back, and beautiful lyrics, beautiful album. Great for any 77's fan, but you're not going to find the 77's rock and alternative feel that you typically have on this. Then they finally come back with the full band project, and this was 2008. This one is called The Holy Ghost Building. Now, this is probably the most Christian through and through, because what this is these are cover tunes of old spirituals. I think they're referred to as like old Negro spirituals from the old days. And they've kind of, and it even has that almost the way it's recorded, and they've got a bunch of guest, background type singing. They feel real authentic, like it's an old-timey recording. And so it's a really unique project, but it's very much like church music, done 77 style, reaching back to an old what you would hear people in the old churches in like the 1800s or whatever. And then they also released this called Working on the Building, which is, again, these are early renditions, rough mixes, demos and stuff. Of course, I had to have this because ultimate fan. Now, since then, there hasn't been a lot from the band except for all these reissues. Micro, the singer, he has over the years released a bunch of CDs. So he had his first one, And then this is like a double live. It's just a bunch of stuff that he does when he's playing in concert by himself. His full band playing at Cornerstone, 1997. His stuff tends to be a little more him and his guitar. So it's a little more acoustic and mellow and personal. And he's got that. Again, this one has got some tracking. You know, this is kind of like different mixes of songs of him playing and some newer tracks. This is one of my favorites here. This is the one that's just called, yeah, We All Gonna Face the Rising Sun. This is very reminiscent. This and the next one, very reminiscent of the Holy Ghost building. It's because he's going back and doing a lot of, you know, just kind of mellow and kind of, I don't want to say praise songs because they're not praise songs. Old sounding, almost country flair. Not really country, but I don't even want to use that word because that can turn people off. Great stuff. Another one similar. This one I think is just called Michael Rowe. I don't think it has a title. Yeah. So he's got, you know, that. Then there's a live album where it's just him and his guitar for the most part, doing a lot of 77 songs. And then they had a Kickstarter program for this called Guadalupe, and it's a single disc, but it opens up. And again, it's his style. So it's 77's vocal style, but you know, a lot more laid back than the band. A lot of acoustic-y type stuff. Now this one was a Kickstarter. Also came out on vinyl. This is a pretty gold vinyl. And again, they brought in way more than they needed, so they threw out. I'm going to start it with this side because what they did is they threw out a 77's album. What this is the 77's. The three of them got together and recorded a bunch of cover tunes. And there was still so much money. There was still more money left over for the stretch goal that they called this one. This is called Give Me a Kickstart and a Phrase or Two. So the second disc is Michael Rowe doing a bunch of, again, similar to his other style stuff, a little more laid back, him and his guitar type things. The cover tunes on here are everything from, I mean, things that you may know and may not know. Bury My Body is an old song that I have an old version of them doing that from a long time ago. Suspicious Minds, which is an Elvis song. Wonderful Tonight. So anyway, it's not necessarily their tracks. I think one or so, a couple of these may be theirs, but it's a covers. They basically went in the album, they had the money, went into the studio real quick, recorded these specially for the fans who support the Kickstarter. Still had a little extra time over, so he released pretty much an entire album's worth of material. So this was great. So anything for me, pretty much anything Michael Rowe touches, 77's, his own stuff, I'm gonna buy. I wasn't going to mention any of these, but he's done some other bands. Okay, so back in the 90s, he also hooked up with 3 other prominent Christian alternative acoustic-sized musicians under the name The Lost Dogs. And the first Lost Dogs album, love it to death. I bought it because he was on it. I wasn't as familiar with the other guys he was with. It was like one of the guys from the choir and Adam again. They put out a bunch of albums. I mean, I probably got at least 8 or 10 albums over there by them, and they're amazing. And then because one of the main guys passed away, and you know, over time, him and the guy from the choir got together, and they formed Kerosene Halo. Only 2 of them are on vinyl. The third one is not. At least I have not seen it released. This stuff is very, very similar to the Lost Dogs, but a little more stripped down because it is only the 2 of them. And in times, it's kind of folksy. It's kind of country. When I say country, I mean like old folksy type country. This stuff I've fallen in love with. Just it's so beautiful. The Ghost of Johnny Cash. Anyway, don't you weep when I die. There is just some amazing stuff. But again, this is totally different situation, totally different band. But that's kind of what he's been up to lately, and I love it. So, and aside from that, they've been reissuing a lot of the 77's albums. So, that's about all I can say for the 77's. Oh, I'm sorry. With the Drowning with Land in Sight, they also, again, because they had extra money, they also released a DVD with that one. So, they're notorious for that. Again, it's more live tracks from, they've got a whole set from Cornerstone 92. So it's like these are all like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 concerts over 4 hours of performance from all kinds of years, from 1990, 91, 92, 93, and 94. So it was around that time frame when this album was in the making. So anyway, 77's, one of my favorite bands. It's not heavy metal. Michael Rowe, the guy behind the 77's, pretty much anything he touches, I buy. Had a chance. They came to town a couple years ago. They did an acoustic show. It was just him and one of the other guys from the band, and they came in to do an acoustic show. I got a hold of the guy who put on the show and said, "Hey, did they need a drummer?" They said, "Sure." So I got up with a djembe, just one of those hand drums, and the guy who put on the show got up on bass, and just for about 4 or 5 songs near the end, kind of the encores, we joined them on stage. The funny thing about that was we didn't practice with them, aside from just making sure that the things were mic'd properly. They came in, they kind of tested the sound system, and then they went and got set up to get ready to play, because they came in just about an hour or so before the show. So we didn't have any time to practice, we didn't have any time to discuss anything we were playing, and it literally got to where we got on the stage, we didn't know what we were going to play. But I'm glad I'm such a fan as I am. I knew one of the songs. They mentioned 1 or 2 songs we might play, so I already had that idea. They just started playing, and we kicked in, and I'm fortunate that I loved so much of their stuff that I knew everything, and so I didn't feel at all too intimidated. And it was a great time. It was like the highlight of the year, and so we got to meet them and everything. But it was great to perform with them, even for a moment. They said, "Yeah, we should take you on the road for the next couple shows." I wish I could have. It would have been a dream to play with them, because they've been a favorite of mine for so many years. Anyway, I'm going to stop with that. I've been rambling for a long time. If you don't know the 77's, check them out. You can find them on YouTube and stuff, and they have so many different styles over the years that surely there's something you could find that you would enjoy. And like I said, even if you're not into the Christian aspect of it, they're not real preachy. You can listen to them and not even at times know that they're a Christian type band. It's just good, clean, wholesome rock and roll. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't, share, enjoy, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you. Boom.